Yogah karmasu kaushalam.
So now we shall ask ourselves, what happens after listening? What is the biggest test of post-listening? I would say that for teachers and students alike, the biggest test of post-listening is the speaking activity. One of the best ways to check for retention and listening is speaking. Communication, interpersonal relations, and development of soft skills is very essential in today's global environment. And for that, I think, after listening, we need to acquire the skill of speaking. And an effective English language lesson in the contemporary classroom of the country today, and this is also a very big challenge for the English teachers, is to inculcate both listening and speaking skills as a prelude to the later skills of reading and writing. So now I am focusing slightly on speaking. Speaking is a post-listening activity. And it could be an activity that can be open-ended and encourage your students to participate freely in a post-lecture discussion. You could interview them, they could interview each other, they could speak about their daily life, and they could ask for further information. They could also respond to emoticons, which seems to be the language of today's generation. So let me show you a couple of emoticons, and maybe you will be able to speak to yourselves and to your friends if you are watching this collectively. How do you feel? Happy? Surprised? Wonderful? Excited? Eager? You can have a variety of answers. Now how do you feel? Do you feel curious? Do you feel skeptical? Do you feel doubtful? Or are you just having one of those ideas? Do you feel inspired? So do you feel like this? Or do you feel like this? What is the effect of this online refresher course on you? Are you happy, sad, curious, excited? How would you speak your reactions to a lecture that has just gone on listening? So when you learn, or when you teach and your students learn, this is how you need to feel, both happy and curious. It's a very famous saying, tell me and I will forget, show me and I might remember, involve me and I will understand. So something to consider is, and I will ask you, the audience, to fill in the blanks with these 4 options. Consider this as a self-assessment test. What will you say is the answer? Take a look, think, and then place the word. One word may be placed more than once because, as you can see, there are 4 words and there are 6 blanks. So you need to hear, you need to say before you read it, you need to read before you write it. So when we are teaching speaking, we are actually looking at 3 specific areas. And what are those 3 areas? They are mechanics, functions, and social linguistics. So with these 3 areas of knowledge, we start teaching a lesson on speaking. And speaking means various types of language input. One is the content-oriented input. The other is the form-oriented input. The content-oriented input focuses on specific information, whereas the form-oriented input focuses on language usage. And in today's global atmosphere, we need a combination of both. There are several goals and techniques for teaching speaking. You must use a structured approach, which combines language input, structured output, and communicative output. Language input is what I am doing right now, teacher talk. Structured output is the format of the PowerPoint that I am presenting to you. And communicative output is the output that you shall send to us, or you shall solve yourself, or the discourse that you can take further. So therefore, to complete a task, how is it that you are using the language? And in the same way, your students will use the language, using vocabulary, grammar, communication strategies that they know. There are various strategies for developing speaking skills, using minimal responses, that is, responding to message, greetings, polite expressions, commands, or even creating them. Second is recognizing scripts, recognizing what to say when, what to respond to when, what kind of a conversational exchange to get into, how to frame the discussion for a topic. So this enhances the speaker's turn and the turn of the person who follows the speaker. And you have seen this amply illustrated in the interchange between Professor Jagdish Joshi and myself in our introductory and conclusive videos in the previous segment. And you will see this in this segment also once the lecture is concluded. So this is all about speaking, the exchange, the conversation, your turn, your cue, and your response. When we use language to talk about language, it is very embarrassing because language learners are usually very hesitant. They sometimes may not understand accent, they sometimes may not understand vocabulary, and therefore conversation becomes very stilted and the exchange of words, the exchange of ideas can be interrupted. So to understand each other, we must use language to talk about language. We must overcome all mental barriers by using the language to make it more potent, to make it more plausible, and to make it more effective. Yet another way of developing speaking activities is communication which involves an information gap, where two people are given a task in which one has to elicit information and the other has to fill up the gaps that are created in the task. When two people or a group exchanges this kind of information, then it clarifies their meaning and it confirms their own understanding. So classroom activities must be created with the communicative competence in mind, not merely English as a syllabus, not merely English as a set of grammar rules, and definitely not merely English as just, an add-on abstract that we need to do this for just about 50 marks or 20 marks, so let us just do this much. So there should be a specific end in mind. How do we teach speaking? We can also teach speaking by eliciting, pointing to different parts of the face, pointing to different objects, pointing to different words. There are three kinds of questions in English. We have the yes or no questions, the or questions, and the WH questions. Some of these questions are direct. Some of these questions are indirect or inferential. For example, a question that is direct will specific information. A question which is indirect will elicit certain things like, why do you think this is happening? What makes you think the person is behaving in a particular way? What do you think might happen next? So generally, we can also speak through picture reading. We can show a picture and ask what is happening in that picture. We can use items around us to speak. Students carry a host of items in their wallets, in their bags. We can use just the bag in the class, a laptop bag maybe, to talk about how many compartments are there, what are the sizes of the compartments, what is the brand of the bag, what kinds of laptops may fit into it, what is the color of the bag, what is the use of the bag, and what are the multi-purpose uses of any kind of a rucksack or a bag. So use items around you. And when you are speaking, please follow these sub-skills of intelligibility, narration, presentation, expression, response, and even spontaneous spoken discourse. There are various slides I can show you which will enable you to design activities for your class. So do take a look at these slides. conclusion, what I want to say is that when you are developing speaking skill, you must be clear, innovative, direct, flexible, contextual, and tolerant, because our students are not usually native speakers of English. They will hesitate, they will make mistakes, they will be diffident, they will be shy, they might not initially speak up, but when they do, there is no stopping them. So create a safe and friendly environment in which you encourage them to listen, and at the same time, you encourage them to speak. Let us make listening a two-way process. When we listen to them, then they listen to us. And when they listen to us, we can create some meaningful output in their minds that we may listen to, gently rectify, and guide them further on the path of self-development. Because whatever be their field of chosen competence and specialization, English skill will always remain with the learner as one of the foremost requirements of his or her self-development as a professional in today's world. Thank you.